what is up YouTube? It is Muse. Today we're going to have a video that is way out of the regular for me. We're going to be talking about streamers. Now, I'm friends with a number of the streamers, or at least acquaintances with some of them. I love most of them, you know, so this is kind of like some pet peeve kind of stuff and picking on some of the stuff they do, but that, you know, at the end of the day, what they do is hard. They deal with a lot of people. They deal with a lot of stuff from people. So please don't take this too harshly. We're not going to mention any names. We're going to be talking about behaviors, but let's go ahead and get into some of it. So in the background, we're going to have some B-roll footage of the rooster rolling, but with that going, we're just going to be talking, and we're going to be talking about some of the behaviors I see out of some of the streaming community, and addressing that. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with some of the big names. There's one in the community. He is very entertaining. He's funny. I love him to death. I love watching his streams. I love watching his content. But he definitely has some things that pet peeve me. So one of the first times I remember he really pet peeved me, and this is like my forte, I play kiting cruisers. I love kiting cruisers. And I'm sitting there watching him on a stream, and he's talking about it's the most annoying playstyle in the game. It's horrible, it takes no skill, blah blah blah, all this good stuff. And I beg to differ. It takes quite a bit of skill to be a good kiting cruiser player. One, you know, you're firing on the move, so you constantly have to be, you know, aware of what you're doing with your shots, where your turrets are, and that alone takes skill. Then two, on top of, you know, keeping track of what you can fire at, where your turrets are, which way you're facing, you're watching all the enemies and where their guns are, what angles they have to fire at you at, how to make them miss, how to bait their shots. That takes skill. And it's a very effective, like when you have, you know, 3-4 ships on a team shooting at something they can't hit, they're not shooting at the teammates that are just sitting somewhere static. And that is saving that team from taking damage, isn't it? So it's a very effective playstyle. It has a use in the game, it has a purpose, and it takes quite a bit of skill. So yeah, that definitely pet peeved me, because, you know, when I see them play a cruiser, and again, we're not talking about names, we're talking about behaviors, but, you know, I see them partner up with one of their regular people they division with, and they'll take out 2 smoke minos and sit there and trade smoke, so they'll be in smoke in the entire match. They're not spotting, they're not radaring, they're not doing anything that a cruiser's useful for, other than just going out and farming damage. They're relying on their team for spots. They're sitting in smoke the entire match, just spamming with a Mino. And that apparently is more skilled than a kiting player. Like, but it's okay when they do it, you know, just don't be the annoying player they can't hit with their battleship. Like, yeah, that's the kind of thing we're gonna be talking about today. Cause yeah, I take issue with that, you know. You're like bashing on what takes actual skill, but when you get in a cruiser, you do something that takes no skill. Sit and smoke and just spam. Like, that's easy. Go radar at DD. Go do something useful. Like, you know, learn to kite. What do you want me to tell you? So yeah, that's one behavior that definitely pet peeved me, that I see from a streamer, and there's just a whole number of them, you know. That same streamer, they constantly, they do high-risk things, and when those high-risk things don't pay off, they blame the game. They take shots at the waterline from God knows how far out, you know, and when those shots fall short, they talk about, oh, it's the game is broken, and I have this issue with shots falling short. If you look at that little circle on my rooster, that is called your dispersion circle, and you'll notice on ships like battleships where, you know, you have a lot wider dispersion, your circle's going to be bigger. Things are going to fall within that circle when you fire, but in an elliptical range. The more range you have, the more the elliptical shape becomes. So when you put your center of your circle, the dot in the middle of that circle, right on the water line on something at 17 kilometers, there's a 50% chance that your shells are going to fall short. Now, if you aim up, if you aim at the deck, the superstructure, you're lowering the chance that your shells are going to end up falling short. You know, it's rare for things in this game to go over because people are always aiming at the water line. Well, that's a high-risk, high-reward shot. So you can't sit there and cry like, oh, the game's broken because I don't hit citadels every time. First of all, this isn't Call of Duty. Not every shot is a frickin' laser. There is, you know, dispersion and grouping and things that actually affect your shot in this game. So not every shot's going to be laser tag where you put your crosshair on it and you hit whatever you put your crosshair on. You know, there's actual things you have to compensate for. And that's part of the game. So, you know, don't sit there and cry because you can't play laser tag. Like, you know, that's another behavior out of that particular streamer that just is a pet peeve. Like, anytime something doesn't work out for you, it doesn't mean the game's broken. It doesn't mean, you know, things aren't working the way they should. It means you're doing something high risk and it didn't pay off. Like, get over it. If you don't like it, start aiming higher. You know, I'm not a citadel machine. I tend to aim higher. I aim at the deck. I aim at the superstructure. I'm looking for, you know what I'm talking about. Obviously, this is a booster. I'm, you know, spamming HE. But I'm talking about when I play battleships or something like that. I'm not always looking for that money shot. I'm looking to just be effective and get damage in. I don't need a dev strike every salvo. You know, I can chip away at things and I can, you know, slowly win the HP fight with something. Rather than, you know, a lot of times, you know, people say never fire HE out of a battleship. A lot of times my initial, when I begin an engagement, I start with HE for about 2-3 salvos. Why? Because if I can catch a fire the first time and they DC it, or the second time and I get 2 fires and they DC it, on that third salvo I can get a perma fire. That's going to start whittling their HP down. Then I switch over to the AP. And I start taking safe shots. Shots where I know I'm going to get damage out of it. Yeah, I may not get citadels, I may not get a dev strike, but I'm going to keep chipping away at that HP. And I'm going to win the HP fight while that person is probably aiming at my waterline, trying to get a dev strike. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to win that fight because I'm playing the game a little bit smarter. I'm not, you know, looking for the money shot every single time. So yeah, that's just one particular streamer, and again, we're not mentioning names, we're just talking about the behaviors. Again, I love them to death, so, you know, no ill will towards them, no, you know, don't sub their chat, any of that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I encourage you, they're very entertaining, and they are a good player. It's not that they're not a good player, it's just, you know, their expectations around things. Like, you know, if they don't enjoy a certain playstyle, nobody should play it. Or, you know, if they're not getting laser tag shots every time, you know, it must be broken. Like, that stuff doesn't work for me. You know, I find that kind of laughable. Is what it is. Like, I still love them to death. I'm a sub to their content. You know, every time I see any of their content, I'm giving them likes, try to support their streams, try to support their channel. I think they bring a lot to the game. But that doesn't mean that there's some issues that I kind of, you know, feel they should be roasted on. It's just the way that is. So, having mostly talked about that one, we're going to talk about another big name one. So, let's slide into that conversation. So the next one we're going to talk about is a good battleship player. You know, they have a pretty decent win rate. Very, very, very well known in the community. Again, I love them to death. They're one of the streamers that kind of brought me into the game, got me more engaged with the game, one of the streamers that I learned from. So, you know, it's somebody that is, I would say, like, near and dear to me. But one of the behaviors that I see out of them that again, is like a pet peeve, every time somebody does something they can't explain, they blame it on stream sniping. Now, you know, that doesn't mean stream snipers don't exist, but not everything you can explain is stream sniping. So that really bothers me, that you know, anytime, you know, somebody catches them with torps, that they don't know how it happened, you know, like, it must be stream sniping. Anytime somebody hits them with a shot that they don't understand, you know, because somebody blind fired, it must be stream sniping. And, you know, there's things that, like, I watch my DD main, and he is what I would consider probably one of the best players in the game. The guy is so smart, so tactical. The way he can read people and predict people's behaviors is just uncannily disgusting. 99.9% of the time, if he tells you a ship on the red team is going to do something, that's exactly what that ship will do. When you watch him fire torps, you're like, why is he shooting his torps there? And then the next thing you know, he ends up with a depth strike. And it's stuff that if the streamer was going against him, I feel like the streamer would be accusing him of stream sniping, because, you know, how did he predict that? Or how did he know I was there when he couldn't see me? But that's the level this player plays to, and there's a lot of people like that, you know. You see all the people that stream, but there's a lot of monsters that don't stream, and they're not, you know, putting their games up all the time, or if they do, they have smaller channels and people aren't seeing it. There's monsters out there. There is monsters that, you know, if they see your ship spotted for 2 seconds, they can bang on you for the next 2 minutes, just predicting your movement. You know, there's monsters that, if you're spotted for a split second, they know where to put torps 2 minutes later because you're gonna be there, and they're able to predict you like that. And when you're talking about somebody who's, you know, this big of a streamer, a lot of your gameplay is available, which makes you that much more predictable than, you know, somebody that they don't see gameplay from all the time. So to sit there and just, you know, blindly throw out the stream sniping accusation, you know, like, I've had one of my friends, actually a couple of my friends that have been accused of stream sniping this person when I know damn well they weren't. Like, you know, I'm sitting in chat with them while they end up in that person's game, they don't have, you know, your stream up to stream snipe you. And yet you're like, oh, this person stream sniped me, so like, maybe reserve that for the cases where you truly feel like there's stream sniping happening, rather than just generalizing, and anybody who does something that you can't explain must be stream sniping. That's all I really have for that particular streamer. Again, I love them to death. There's no hate with this. It's just, I'm kind of going through the community of streamers and just pulling out the different behaviors I'm seeing, from different ones that, you know, I feel possibly maybe harmful to their reputation, that is just, you know, I have a different style, I have different content, I do different things, and I have people that, you know, they gravitate away from some of these streamers because of this kind of stuff. You know, when you're not sitting there, and this is going back to the first streamer we talked about, they don't really talk about, you know, do they make videos on, you know, here's how to do this and here's how, but yes. But during their actual gameplay, they don't discuss, like, this is why I'm doing this, or this is why this is happening, or, you know, and they're not breaking things down. There's a lot of people that, you know, they want to learn from these guys. And when you're not offering any kind of insights into, you know, hey, here's why I'm doing this, or here's why I'm doing this, it takes away. And I end up with a lot of people coming to me, and basically being like, you know, I appreciate that you break things down, and you talk about things, and you tell, like, even if something goes wrong, you're talking about what your thought process was in doing it. And that, you know, adds to things, and, you know, making your video where you specifically address something, but in most of your content, you're not. That's something that kind of detracts from your channel. There's people that want to learn from you. There's people just coming into this game that, you know, when they Google, you know, videos or streams, you guys are the ones coming up. You're the names coming up. And, you know, recently one of them has, I've seen them, you know, and I'm talking, when I say recently, I mean within like the last 6 months, I've seen them make a very big effort to produce content to teach people how to do things in the game. That is awesome. That is huge. It really is. That's what we need. We need people teaching, you know, how many games you go in and just see people doing the most ridiculous things ever. And then that kind of leads me to another thing is, you know, for their content, they love, you know, somebody just sailing broadside and taking a full-on depth strike. But then when somebody's doing something that prevents your depth strike, i.e. kiting, you get these meltdowns about it's the most annoying playstyle in the game because somebody's actually knows what they're doing and they're not just sitting there letting you get, you know, a highlight clip off of them. You're gonna be annoyed. But then, you know, if they're on your team, you're complaining about what a bad teammate they are for sitting there and sailing broadside and just giving up their HP. So it's like, one or the other, you know, and you can't have it both ways. So yeah, that's another thing is, you know, being more educational, more open, more talking to the player base, you know. Like, you have your base following, that's awesome, and you have people that have been playing the game since day one that are in your base, and that's awesome. But to pretend like you don't have new people that are coming into the game, you know, that need to hear you explain why you're doing what you're doing. You know, some of my content, if you go through my channel, might seem like really, really basic stuff to you guys, and you might want to roast me on it, but, you know, that is for the players that don't understand that and don't have that knowledge yet. Like, that's what I'm trying to do, is impart some of that knowledge for them. You know, one of the things I get roasted by the other streamers and the community at large is, you know, I defend what they call bad ships. Because I say there are no bad ships. No such thing as a bad ship. And I get roasted for that. I get roasted for, like, you know, doing the off-meta thing and taking ships that normally aren't very successful and teaching people how to be successful in those kind of ships. And not every ship is, you know, up here, top of the leaderboard DPM machine, but that doesn't mean it's a bad ship. It means it has a different playstyle. It does something then different than just having pure offense. It's not a Weimar. You know, when I did the video about the Cheshire, there was a lot of people that learned from that video, went out and started using the Cheshire, and you went from never seeing Cheshires in game to actually seeing them quite frequently, and that was super cool to you know that I had a hand in that. And they were effective in those games. They were finishing top of the team in a ship that a lot of people sit there and say is complete fucking dog poop. Like, so you can sit there and you can roast me all you want because I'll defend a bad ship. It doesn't mean I don't love my Weimar or my Mines or, you know, my frickin' any other ship that's just, you know, insanely broken, OP, god level. Like, everybody wants to play just, you know, what's just super good at the tier and can make it easy mode. But I think the challenge, and this is something I brought with me from World of Tanks, when I used to play World of Tanks, that's where I started. I would take the most god-awful frickin' tanks, the stuff nobody wanted to play, nobody wanted to touch because they were so bad, and learn to get good in them. Because I knew if I could be good in the bad ones, that when I got into something that was a Weimar or a Mines or just something that is easy mode, I would be God. Because I learned how to actually play the game. And that is how I trained myself, was by playing these tanks that just were, you know, for whatever reason, just terrible to play. And when you learn to be effective with those, and then you jump into something that's, you know, top of the tier, it's going to be a whole different level for you. Whole different level than somebody who's just played that top of the tier tank the whole time and, you know, basically is relying on, you know, whatever makes that tank or that ship good. That's all they're relying on, and they haven't developed any other skills for playing the bad stuff. And so, you know, that's kind of like, if that's what you guys want to roast me on, like, have at it. Have at it. I'm proud to play, you know, ships that are not the cherry at the tier. That's fine by me. I'm still gonna sink you in it. And if I don't, and you're running around in something that's, you know, OP, you're running around in the mines, and I have some, you know, garbage cruiser at tier 7. I did the best I could in that matchup. Like, it is what it is. You know? So yeah, to sit there and just, you know, go off on that one particular point. I don't feel like that devalues me at all. I don't feel like that devalues my content to be like, you know, here's a ship that nobody uses. Here's how to use it. Here's how to be effective with it in a fight. Or to defend a ship that, you know, everyone's like, that's garbage, don't get it. No, do get it. Learn to play that ship. Learn what it's good at. Just because it's not good at everything and it's not perfectly balanced like some of the other stuff out there does not mean it's not capable. So yeah, that's my rant on, you know, hashtag roast me, I don't care, have at it. So, we're gonna move on from there. So, the next streamer I'm going to talk about, again, this is everybody I've talked about so far. I love them as human beings, I subscribe to them, I like their content, I watch their content. So again, there's no hate here, there's no animosity, there's no, oh, unsub their channel, or just, you know, don't like their videos, or any of that. Like, no, go support these guys. I'm just, again, picking on, you know, the behaviors I see out of them that, from my end, I don't appreciate. And if they want to come at me, that's fine. Come at me, bro. So the next one I'm going to talk about is one that, I do appreciate a lot of their content, and they are a really good player. They get a lot of guff. So I have a feeling that might have something to do with what I'm going to get into next about what their pet peeve kind of situation is. They just seem to, a couple months ago, I don't know, almost like embrace the villain role. Like, I'm just gonna go out and say the most outrageous shit, and just, I want to be the villain. And they just seem to have fully embraced that, and like, some of the content I've seen out of them lately just leaves me scratching my head. Talking about, you know, the way they want to see the game, in particular, is like really what I'm seeing out of this person, and just absolutely trashing the game outside anything they want to see in it. You know, I don't want to, like, give away people, like, I'm trying not to name and shame, but, like, they did a video on a legendary cruiser, and literally, like, sat there playing it from the back of the map and just spamming with it, and then talking about how boring it was to play it. And, like, that's not how I play that ship. I play that ship with the radar, using the sonar, I'm a DD hunter, I'm up in the action, And it's not, you know, it's not a ship that's capable of their typical playstyle of just being a pure-out brawler, a brawling cruiser, you know, that's on a, I don't want to say that because that'll give away who it is. But yeah, it's not their typical cruiser. And to sit at the back of the map and just spam with it and then talk about how boring it is, like really? 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 Because that's not how I play that ship. And I guarantee you when I play it, it's not boring, it's fun, it's exciting. You know, when I'm right up in the mix and pop my radar on a DD and just absolutely annihilate him, there's a surge of adrenaline that goes through me. I enjoy that. Like, that is exciting for me to just smash a DD like that, knowing he's not gonna get my battleship. Knowing he's not gonna get my DD. Like, I love that. But that's how I play that ship. So to say that ship is just boring overall is kind of BS. Like, you know, I've heard them cry about HE spammers. I love my HE spammers. Absolutely adore my HE spammers. They serve a purpose in the game. They are indirect fire. The fact that you can sit behind something and shoot over it and be indirect fired where you can't be hit. That is valuable. That's called artillery, and it has defined warfare since artillery came into existence. So you may hate it because it's not, you know, the playstyle you enjoy. But that doesn't make it a bad playstyle. What else have they come out with? And it's just been kind of one ridiculous, like, oh, I don't like this in the game, so it just shouldn't be in the game. You know, I would say about 2-3 months back, there was a huge conversation about crossplay in the game. And like 90% of people were like, you know, don't turn off crossplay. We like having the 99. You know, we don't like having, you know, 2v2 in a standard match. And then again, like embracing that true villain role, they were like, oh, I love games where crossplay is off and it brings something unique to the game and it provides this and it adds flavor. And it's almost like this person has just decided to play devil's advocate with everything. And I love it, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have that counterpoint to things, but to just literally, like, it's almost troll at this point, to be like, no matter what, I'm just gonna be against it. To say the game doesn't, you know, I don't like this in a game because it doesn't suit my playstyle. Like, you're a representative of the community, and not everybody in the community has your playstyle. And you have to be fair to that, you have to be understanding of that, you have to, you know... There's a lot of things I think the streamers don't understand, and we're gonna kind of get into that as a general synopsis of this whole thing. On that particular streamer, though, yeah, I definitely feel like they fully embrace, like, they see themselves as Joker at this point. They fully embrace the villain role. They're like, I'm just gonna troll. And I feel like that kind of developed because, you know, people were giving them a hard time about a lot of things and kind of roasting them. And so they just, I don't know, they kind of went pushed all in with that. But with that, we're going to start moving into just a general sum up of everything. And start closing this video out because I don't want to make it too long. It's already getting kind of ridiculous, so let's get into the overall aspects of things. So on an overall, and something I think like a lot of the streaming community is really guilty of, and they kind of feed it, and it injects itself into the community, and it becomes toxic, and it becomes gross, is blaming wargaming for everything. You know, and not understanding they're running a business. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a business, you know, and the days where, you know, devs made games because of their love and their passion for the game are long gone. Long gone. That was a decade ago. Nowadays, it's, you know, you have the large corporations involved. It's a business. And while a lot of those devs probably still, you know, are doing what they love and being passionate about the product they're producing, not everything is up to them. And there's decisions that get made above them, and they have no choice but to go along with that. So to sit there and, you know, talk about the game as dog piss, or the game is shit, or, you know, you don't like this, or that's broken, or, you know, you have to realize the constraints of this game. This game does not have, you know, go look at the player base on World of Tanks, sorry. You're talking millions of people. When you're talking about warships, you're talking, or warships legends, I should say, you're talking about a very small player base. Somewhere in the range of 200,000 to 400,000. So they don't have this huge millions player base that is paying into the game. And like, you guys want to see all this stuff developed and improved and fixed and done. That takes money. And if you only have this small, you know, you're talking 400,000 overall, and then maybe, you know, how many people out of that are actually, you know, buying stuff and contributing financially to this game being able to turn a profit at the end of every quarter. But then, you know, you're constantly talking about, oh, they're just greedy, or they don't care, or like, that's toxic, and you're destroying the game that you profess to, like, I hear most of you say, oh, I love the game, but yet you're destroying it. You're literally turning people away from it, you're turning people against it, you're turning people against the devs, you're turning people, and you don't understand necessarily probably what's going on behind the scenes. Like, even for the ones that are CCs, just because you're a CC doesn't mean you get told everything about the business model and the way things work behind the scenes. You get told what you need to know for your role, and that's it. So why are you going to sit there and destroy the game that you claim to love because they can't do something exactly the way you want it done? You know, I don't think you guys are wrong 100% of the time, but you're not right 100% of the time either. I just don't get it. I don't get why you're so insistent on just shitting on the dev, shitting on the game, shitting on, you know, just anybody and everybody that has a part of this. And it's kind of trolly. It's destroying, you know, you see the things that you guys are saying being reflected in the community. You know, the whole shots falling short thing, I see that everywhere now, and it's complete rubbish. To understand how the shots actually work in this game mathematically, and hear somebody talk about shots are falling short when I know damn well that's not happening. It's really annoying, you know, to hear that, oh, this is broken, or that's broken, or this is just shit, or I don't like that they added this ship, or that these ships do that, or, you know, it's a game. It's a game, and they do the best they can with it, with what they have. They still have to report profits at the end of every quarter. Cut them some slack. Stop, if you love this game so much, stop destroying it. Maybe if you were bringing people in instead of chasing people out of the game, there would be a larger player base, there would be more money coming in, and they would have more money to do the things that you're sitting there crying about. Like, you're self-defeating. You're destroying what you love. Like, I don't get it. I don't get that. I don't get that. And that's a behavior I'm seeing across the board. I'm not saying every streamer is guilty of this, but there's quite a few that are just absolutely trashing this game. that are chasing people away from it. I literally, in some of the groups, I see people saying, you know, oh, I'm kind of done with the game because of, and their talking points are the things you guys are going off about. So that's less money in Wargaming's pocket now. Because you wanted to make a fake scandal, basically. Or turn something that you don't completely understand into a negative. So why? Why? If you love this game so much, wouldn't you want to see the player base grow? Wouldn't you want to see Wargaming have more available cash to be able to report their profit, but then still reinvest in this game? You know, so there's some people that think that, you know, they can take 100% of what they make off sales in this game and put it back into the game. That's not how it works. They have a business model. They have expectations. You know, they're predicting, you know, that their profits, and they have things to answer for. And then, you know, the people that you guys are going after, not every single one of them has anything to do with the things you're mad about. So, like, I don't know what else to say, you know. Am I the most clean-cut player in the world? No, I am guilty of being salty. If you listen to any of my games that have open comms, I'm full of salt. I'm full of S-talking, I'm full of trolling, I'm full of, you know, I do a lot of the same stuff, but at the end of the day, I also try to be responsible. I don't try to blame people for stream sniping when, you know, I know stuff happens. And I don't know what else to say. I appreciate y'all. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you later. Bye, YouTube.